My name is Tim Harris. I work for Talend in the UK. We've been going for about 4 or 5 years in the UK. Been there since the beginning. Talend as a company, we've been going about 7 years, and we've had quite a lot of success in that 7 years. We've now got about 1 million users of our open source product. We've had about 1.6 million downloads. And how you categorise a user is somebody that actually makes a download and then downloads an update at the next release. So we've got about 1 million of those, so that's quite a big portfolio of users. So just a little bit about us, about who Talend are, and where we sit onto the market, and then I'm going to talk about some of the customers that we've got in the public sector. I'll allude a little bit to what we've done in health, and then just talk about a very high level what our solution is and how people in the health sector could benefit from it. And at the end, if anyone wants to come over to our stand, I'll give you details as to how you can get all of our products for free as a direct result of coming to this event today. So without further ado, there's basically 4 products that we've got in our portfolio. The first is about extracting data, and it's really like the cornerstone of what we do. It's the ETL, so taking data from one source and moving it to another. You can use it for point-to-point integration. You can use it for populating data warehouses. The second tool, which is fully integrated, is a data quality tool. So as you take data, you can clean it. And I'll come on to a little bit more about what we do with data quality, but it's about profiling the data, cleaning the data, and then there's a data steward, business usery side of it as well. The third piece of functionality that we have is MDM, so it's about master data management. So if you've got a whole bunch of different data sources, it's quite hard to make sense of it. So if, for instance, Tim Harris appears in 10 different databases, which record of Tim Harris is the latest, or which is the most appropriate for you to be using? And then the final piece of technology that we've got is a SOA, an ESP, being used in anger, for use of a better word, enjoy, by people like Deutsche Post, DHL, so some very major organisations. In the UK it goes out down to very small implementations as well. We've got Newcastle University that are using it for their door access system. So there's a whole bunch of different types of application that you can use it for. So that's really the tools that we've got. We've got a fully manned 24/7 support centre. So there's 3 support centres throughout the world. And we're around about just under 500 people globally. We've been growing actually quite a lot. We've been growing around about 128% year on year. So in our space as a major vendor, we are the fastest growing player by some way. And indeed, if you look at our competitors, I know most of them have put out profit warnings quarter on quarter, and we've been putting out a pretty phenomenal growth rates, and very much at their expense, which is good. Okay, so just within the public arena, this is some of the clients that we've got in the UK in the sort of like 4 years that we've been trading here, and obviously there's a lot more, but what I've tried to do is put a cross-section of organisations there, and these are all pretty sizable implementations. So, and it ranges from the land registry. They've standardised now on our tool across the entire organisation. They used to use IBM. IBM was great for them. It was just incredibly expensive. They needed to save money, so they came for an open source product. They saved an incredible amount of money, so much so they standardised it across the entire organisation. The Inland Revenue in Ireland, it's called Irish Revenue Tax and Customs. They have a site license of our products, so they use it across the entire organisation. They're using us for metadata management. They're using us for all of their ETL projects. Indeed, there was a new tax which they implemented this year, and they used our technology in order to help them with that. So that's pretty major. We've got some stuff on NHS. I've got a quick slide on that, which I was going to come on to in a moment, and Oxfordshire County Council. So Office for National Statistics, in the morning when you hear your statistics on Radio 4, there's a very good chance they would have been compiled using Talend, so which is quite interesting. So it's just a batch of clients that we've got. So if we just look at one application that we've got within the NHS, okay, so it's a Talend Big Data. So it's using our Big Data functionality, and I'll come on to our Big Data in just a moment. What they wanted to do is basically quickly and simply populate the Google BigQuery They wanted it obviously within their firewall. On top of that, they wanted to use a visualization tool. So the tool that I believe they chose was ClickTech. I've just put on there some of the reasons as to why they chose us, but it's really just to sort of like validate, across the health sector where our tool's being used. Okay, so I've just put here what some of the drivers are with regard to the NHS. And it's very similar to any organisation, but it's particularly acute, obviously, in the NHS at the moment with all the cuts that are going on. And if anything, it's more of an opportunity. I mean, using it in integration technology, there's a whole plethora of ways that you can make incredible savings across an organisation and improve service, just literally by using a piece of software like ours. Okay, so what I want to do now is just talk about what the actual solution is that we offer. So I talked about it earlier, just that we've got four key pillars, which is data quality, data integration, MDM, and ESB. Now, what is on the screen now, every single one of those products is completely free. So at the end of this, if you go to our stand, we'll take your details and just explain where you can go and download that product. Okay, but these are all standalone tools. So the data quality tool is a data profiling tool. So you can literally connect to any system, pretty much any system on the planet. If not, then give us a call. And then you can take data and you can profile it. So profiling will be looking for exceptions. It'll be validating the data, trying to match it, to try and find duplications. Once you go into the chargeable stuff, there's even more stuff that you can do in terms of getting good data quality. Now, what's good is once you've set it up to identify issues with data, you can keep reusing it. So you can keep taking, so if you're getting a regular data source, you can keep profiling it with the same tool. Okay. The next free tool that we've got is a data integration tool. So it's point-to-point, taking data, extracting it, loading it into a data warehouse, or moving it around wherever you want it to go. We have a free MDM solution, which is literally about taking data and just trying to make sense of it, so you can have a golden record, I guess is a good term that we could use. And then we've got a full enterprise service bus. Now, everything here is completely free. Now, the way that our business model works, as with a lot of open source, is once you're using the free, if you wanted to scale up, so you wanted multiple users, you wanted mega amounts of data, loads of servers, then we have a chargeable version which is fully supported and fully indemnified. Now, the first thing to say about the chargeable version is it sits on a unified platform. So if, for instance, I wanted to extract data using data integration, I wanted to clean it up, and then I wanted to put in some governance around that data, that's using 3 different bits of technology, you can do it all in one single portal very quickly, which is really powerful and massively reduces the duplication when you're doing any development cycle. So sitting on top of that platform, obviously we've got each of the technologies. Another technology that we have on there is BPM, so we've got a full business process management tool. There is additional functionality in these tools. So for instance, you look at the data quality in the chargeable version, it does have more stuff with regard to profiling, but what it also has got is a whole bunch of different processes you can put in place to actually correct the data. So whereas in health there's a lot of data you're not allowed to correct, you have to pass it back to whoever's generated the data. Stuff like postcode and stuff, it's pretty intuitive, you can correct that yourself. So that's what you can do in the chargeable tool, and that's just an example. Now, in terms of pricing, we don't do what we call a data tax, so you can have whatever volumes of data and as many connections as you like. All we charge by is number of developers. And when you use some of these tools here, we also charge by number of environments. There's a technical reason for that, but primarily it's through number of developers. So it really is as simple. If you've got 5 developers and you want to do any of this sort of stuff here, we just give you an annual fee for 5 developers. And if at the end of that year you just want 1 developer, you then just buy 1. It's as simple as that. Okay, so just in terms of the unified platform, that's really significant, and it's a massive game changer in the industry, and it's the reason that we're seeing such incredible growth and our competitors are putting out profit warnings quarter on quarter. And the key reason for it is, for each of those different technologies that I've talked about, in the legacy world, in the old-fashioned world, and for a lot of organisations in the current world, they'll have SOA, consultants, they'll have ETL consultants, they'll have data quality consultants, they might have another MDM team, and they're probably all using completely different technologies. You might have ab initio in an organisation, Informatico, IBM, Datanomics, but in essence, all of those consultants are duplicating, they're all doing exactly the same stuff. So they're all basically creating metadata, they're all scheduling jobs, they're all moving data around. So if you could put all of that into one single environment, then it massively reduces the development cycle. So if one guy can go in and map to a data source, and then that's done, and you can use it for data quality, moving data, MDM, you've just done that mapping once, then clearly that's going to have a big effect on your development cycle. So that's really what the Unify platform is. Okay. So just in terms of technology that scales, so Talend are very much pioneers in big data, and in terms of big data, there's a whole bunch of NoSQL databases on the market. We've got somebody here in the audience from a major NoSQL database, which I'm sure more than happy to speak to anyone in the end. But we also work with products like Hadoop. And just to give you an example of how closely we work with Hadoop, many of the partners that we work with actually bundle our product with theirs. And the reason for that, just in terms of Hadoop, is that we create, through our tool, MapReduce code, which is native Hadoop code. So we're the only integration tool on the planet which can automatically work with Hadoop. Every other tool on the entire planet has to go through, you create code and then it has to be moved, it has to be transferred, it has to be recompiled, reconfigured. With our tool, what it does is it generates MapReduce code, which is incredibly powerful. And one of the reasons for that is just trying to program in Hadoop is just incredibly expensive, time-consuming, complicated. With our tool, you go into a very simple Eclipse GUI, you drag and drop, and in the background, you just click generate it or generate the MapReduce. Okay, I just put this slide on here just really because I wasn't sure how many people here were going to be technical and how many people were going to be sort of more from the business. And it's really just to talk about accidental architecture, and this is what we come across in most organisations, particularly in health, particularly in local government. And it's really where the evolution of their systems has grown, and they've tried to integrate and just basically done point to point. And you're seeing it a lot of organisations that are very SQL centric or Microsoft centric have taken this approach with SSIS, and it's been great. It's sort of quite an old way of integrating now, but it's what they've done. And they've basically come up with loads and loads of different links. So if you've got 100 systems, imagine sort of like, rather than just like 8 systems or whatever we've got on this slide here, imagine having 100 systems with all loads of point to point. It becomes very, very unwieldy. So I've just put on here a couple of the issues with it. So it requires exponentially more development. So every time you want to put a new system into your network, if you want to try and integrate it to your other systems, it's exponentially more difficult because you might have to create 12 links just to integrate one tool, which is bonkers really. Okay, so what do we do? So basically we clear it all up. So we can put data into a service bus, or we can put it into a golden record, and I guess that block in the middle would represent either. It's entirely your choice. But we basically extract data. You just have to build one connection into a data source. We clean the data. We put in whatever governance and compliance that you need to as you move that data across. We've got full security, and we can basically just give you a very simple single view of all of your systems. So it just really speeds up and declutters any work that any projects that you're working on.